Hey everyone, Mr. Happy here, and in this video we're going to be going over the changes coming to Paladin in Final Fantasy XIV's next expansion, Shadowbringers. This information comes to you from the North American Media Tour, but keep in mind that none of it's final. Potencies effects, pretty much anything could change before the expansion launches. As such, we'll put a watermark at the bottom, and let's move on. Despite some pretty noticeable changes, Paladin should still at least feel mostly the same, though you're definitely going to have a few more things to track and a few less things to track at the same time. All the tanks underwent some pretty noticeable changes, so expect this to feel this way regardless of which one you're playing. First up, here's a list of skills that were, if anything, just partially adjusted. Some of them had a trait added to them that gave it its old effect, some of them are available at a lower level, but any of these skills, if you were familiar with them before, then you'll still be familiar with them in 5.0. There were some skills that were removed. Savage Blade, for example, was removed because enmity combos are gone. Rage of Halon isn't gone, but the way that it works is quite different. Shield Swipe is also gone, Sword Oath is gone, Flash, Bulwark, and Tempered Will, though tanks do have the arm's length roll action now, so you don't really have to worry about that. Now let's get into some of the skills that had much more noticeable changes. First up is Shield Oath. It's now called Iron Will and only increases enmity generation. It's off the global cooldown and it is obtained at level 10. Now keep in mind all the tanks underwent a change similar to this. They all lost their offensive stance and their defensive stance now only increases enmity generation. As for the gauge that comes with Oath, that gauge is now available at level 35 instead of level 52, so newer players can get used to it earlier on. Now we mentioned that Savage Blade was gone, but Rage of Halon was still hanging about. Well, now it combos off of Riot Blade and actually turns into Royal Authority at level 60 with a new trait. Spirits Within had its level lowered to 30 and now restores MP as well after you get a new trait at level 58. Now since Oath Gauge is available at level 35, it only made sense for Chun to also be available at level 35. Now its original effect is still the same, but once you hit level 74, it will instead block all attacks for 6 seconds instead of just the first hit. This is probably to make up for the fact that you no longer have Bulwark and to just kind of funnel its effects into Chun since they were kind of redundant. Next up is Cover, which underwent two changes. For one, it now costs 50 gauge. Yep, it's one of those gauge skills. And it no longer reduces the damage the Paladin takes from the cover target by 20% with traits. You're still going to be taking 100% of the damage your covered target would have taken. Requiescat now makes spells instant cast after a level 78 trait, and Royal Authority will now grant you 3 stacks of a new Sword Oath buff once you hit level 76. We'll get into what that does in a little bit. Now as for skills that are outright new, there's a handful of them and they're all pretty impressive. Prominence is the first one and it's an AoE combo off of Total Eclipse. Remember, we got rid of Flash, but we still have Total Eclipse, so Paladin's AoE rotation now always does damage. Now on top of comboing off of Total Eclipse for more damage, it also restores MP after you hit level 66 thanks to another new trait. Next up is Intervene, which is the Paladin Gap Closer. You saw it in the job action trailer and people have been asking for it for a very long time. It also stores up to 2 charges, so just like with Shoulder Tackle on Monk, you can hang on to it in order to close the gap twice in a row, or you can use it for some big burst damage. We also mentioned those stacks of Sword Oath that Royal Authority gave. Well, those are used to use a new skill called Atonement. Now, Atonement's a new weapon skill that you'll pick up on the higher levels, and every time you use it, it consumes 1 stack of Sword Oath. It also restores MP per use, but basically what you'll do is a Royal Authority combo, and then you'll have 3 of these Atonements to use back to back to back. Finally, Paladin got 2 more spells to use its MP on, especially during the Requiescat timing. Holy Circle is basically an AoE Holy Spirit, so you now have an AoE magic spell as Paladin. On top of that, you have Confiteor, which is a massive 800 potency AoE damage finisher for Requiescat. I say finisher because it not only requires you to be in Requiescat, but it instantly ends Requiescat upon use, so it'll always be the last spell you cast when going through your Requiescat combo. Now, I'm no expert on tanks, but I look at all this stuff and it seems pretty obvious what the general Paladin rotation will be, at least during its burst windows. I'd imagine during Fight or Flight you'd want to start immediately going into the Goring Blade action at the end of a combo, followed by Royal Authority, followed by 3 Atonements, followed by another Goring Blade combo, at which point you'd probably Requiescat, and then go into single target or AoE rotation, ending with Confiteor. Now, I'm sure there's more optimizations to be had there, but at least for the global cooldown rotation, then you have a 25-second period in which you can cool down and then do the whole thing over again. The rest of the traits we kind of mentioned as we were going over the skills. I mean, we mentioned Oath at level 35, we mentioned Spirits Within in a level 58 trait. Also, Riot Blade doesn't get its MP absorption until that level 58 trait. Rage of Halone, we mentioned turning into Royal Authority. Prominence restores MP with the trait. Enhanced Sheltron no longer fades after one block with its trait. You get Sword Oath from Royal Authority. That's actually part of a trait. I think I did mention that as well. And then Enhanced Requiescat spells no longer have cast times during Requiescat with that trait as well. So pretty much mentioned them all as we were going over the skills. And that's going to be a wrap for my Paladin video. I know I'm no expert on the matter. I'm sure like Zeno and Mary are going to have way more in-depth videos than this, but just consider this a general overview so you understand the changes. Shout out to them and other content creators who are at the North American Media Tour. There's a lot of traits and skill hoverovers that I was missing, especially for some of the jobs towards the end of the day, Paladin being one of them. So shout out to anyone who helped contribute to this. We've been bouncing ideas off each other and helping each other out with that. So be sure to go check out the other videos, not only on my channel, but on the other channels who are covering the Media Tour as well. Anyway, be sure to like, favorite, subscribe, and share, and stay tuned. As of this recording, I got 3 job videos left. Wish me luck. Anyway, I'll see you guys in the next one, and until then, take care.